Hello and welcome to week 3 of the Creative Writing Program. So for this week, we're going to take a little bit of a spin on last week's object writing. And this is where I'm going to share my poem with you a little bit later on. So what I want you to do is pick the same object or pick a different object and follow the same process that we did last week. So you're going to write as many words about that object as you possibly can, making sure to pay attention to detail and description. You're going to write for 5 to 10 minutes about that object in full sentences. Then what I want you to do, we're going to do a little bit of a different take on it. So this time you're going to write what's called a satire. And a satire basically means you're sort of like, I don't want to say making fun of, but you're creating humor attached to this object. And so there's something that you can look up. It's called McSweeney's Letters to Inanimate Objects. And what this person does, and there's a whole series on it, and there's a bunch of blog posts and stuff on it as well, is taking inanimate objects and writing letters to them, or writing poems to them, or just writing something like very comedic about it. And so one of the examples was around writing a letter to their trash can, and that the trash can in their life doesn't do anything in the apartment and just expects to live there rent-free. And the person is just making fun of the situation, like full well knowing that they're the ones who are making the garbage and having to take care of the garbage and put it outside and all of these things, but they were just making fun of sort of the idea of the trash bin being a live object. And so one of the things that I wrote, or actually here's the example of the recycle bin. And so it says, "Dear inanimate objects in my apartment, did you even notice that recycle bin? No, you didn't. Just like you didn't notice or care that you've been so overflowing with empty bottles for the last month that I've started lining them up around you. This could have made your neighbor, the galvanized metal trash can, feel cramped or at least inadequate if it was filled with anything more sensitive than yesterday's congealed beans. But it's not just you two. All of my inanimate friends are guilty of doing the same thing. Nothing." My example of writing to an inanimate object is around cheese. And so I did this actually as an assignment a number of years ago. And I couldn't focus on actually writing a letter. For me, putting it in poetry form was much easier. And so that's what I did. And so here's my letter, my poem to cheese. So, "Dear cheese, there's just so much I need to express, but I find it so hard to write. Pen after pen and paper after paper, and I still have not been able to complete a full letter to you. I've decided to do what I do best, write you a poem. I hope you like it. Cheese, yes, you were the one to please. My late night snack in many different forms, grated, cubed, melted, and sliced, alone or together on a salad or diced. Cold, slightly melted, processed, or hot dripping goo, it doesn't matter how I use you. Oh, cheese, you never fail me. Then there's cheesecake, cold are the ones that you bake, so many colors to brighten your with, so many toppings to dress you with. Chocolate, vanilla, cherry, blueberry, thinking about all of this makes my taste buds go crazy. When I see all the choices, my eyes become larger than life. I can't wait to cut into you, so I run for the knife. As I slide into your creamy filling and biscuity base, I can't wait to put you in your proper place. I've waited for this moment for much too long. In my mouth is where you belong. Oh, cheese, you never fail me. As I stand there and bask in all my delight, I savor the taste of that one single bite. I continue to enjoy you until I'm so full, you make my tummy hurt, but you're just that good. But cheese, I fail you, because I can't seem to choose. You're my favorite, and I don't want to lose. There's just so much to try and decide, the rules I choose not to abide. Without you, I know I would be singing the blues. Oh, cheese, I must walk away from you. The more I indulge, the more I begin to expand. I need you to stop lending me your hand. The waistband on my pants is beginning to feel tight. Walking away from you seems to be right. I'm beginning to feel like I'm walking lard, but your tasty goodness just makes this so hard. And so, as you can see, it's a ridiculously cheesy poem. Ha, no pun intended. But you can make fun of the object that you're choosing to write about. Make it funny, make it ridiculous, see what creative process that you can come up with. You can even write a love letter to it. You can write a breakup letter to it. You can write an angry letter to it. It's totally up to you. And so I can't wait to see what you come up with. So I hope you enjoy this activity. So now we're going to look at building characters and developing characters for a story. You could continue with the storyline, but right now we're just going to focus on character descriptions. And what that means is you're looking at keywords that are used to indicate what a character looks like and just describe what their attitude, their behaviors, their mannerisms are. So usually you want to think about extremely descriptive words to describe like the color of the hairs. Like for me, I've got like green, but it's like representative of like seaweed. And so you can say like her hair glistening in the sun, looking as green as seaweed in the depths of the ocean as it's blowing through the water, like the waves of the water. So something like that. You want to look at eye color. You want to look at maybe even their body type and how to explain that in a good way. You want to provide information about their looks that makes sense to the storyline. And so like for myself, I have piercings, I have tattoos, I've got some birthmarks. If these are things that you want to put in your character, then you would add these to your storyline. And then sort of what you want to be mindful of. So as it states in your packages, is writers often forget to dive deeper and describe other important characteristics of their character. So think of the ways to describe the person in a different way. And so the examples are, do they have an accent? What about their smell? Everybody has a smell, but is there something in particular? So like I can describe like with my mom, when I think of my mom, I think of banana bread. The scent of just baking banana bread as I'm walking down the hallway to her apartment. And so things like that, making connections to scent to that person. I can think of like my grandfather used to smell of like, and it's gonna sound gross, but like sweat and wood, because he had a woodworking shop. So like that staleness, that muskiness, but also of wood and like the wood chips and sawdust. You want to think about maybe their skin or their aura and movement. So like me, you can't see it on camera that often, but I talk a lot with my hands. So when you're talking about a character in the story, you would say like Mel, she's got seaweed hair, etc., etc., and she has very animated movements as she waves her hands in the air when she talks, when she's passionate about something. And so you would do it a little bit more descriptive than that, but that's an example of sort of how you can begin to write that in the storyline. And what this does is it allows your readers to really pick up on the character of that person and sort of the attitude and behaviors and demeanor of them. And it helps really solidify what and who and what that person's role is in the story. Then maybe you want to, as you're creating interactions, and we're not going to go into that yet, but as you start creating interactions with other characters, it really helps the reader to pick up like how they're feeling, how they choose to communicate with other people, what their emotional state of being is, and how they view certain situations. And so this is going to be the process of starting that. And so there is a link that is in your package, and it gives you examples of sort of what to think about. So right now we're just thinking about these things. Like you're gonna brainstorm and you're gonna write like, what is the name of this character? What is their heritage? What is their attitude? What is their belief system? And just write those down. And so for me, say if you were putting Mel, it was, I'm Mi'kmaq and Scottish Irish settler. I am in my early 30s, I am a stepmom, I love tattoos and piercing. So your final activity for this week is going to help you sort of with character development as well. And the activity is called exaggerating detail. there are some images in your package. You don't have to use these images in particular, but you can choose an image that you like, or you can draw one out. But what I would like to do is either choosing an image or drawing one out, you want something that has multiple things that you can write into. So the first one that I'm seeing here is the bundle of grapes. I want you to think of anything and everything that you can when it comes to grapes. It could be the color, texture, where they grow. It could be a story about grapes, but you're gonna write it in all of those little tiny grapes on the screen. Say for instance with a tree, you're gonna write anything and everything you possibly can about the tree, the leaves, the pumpkin, anything and everything. And when I mean anything and everything, absolutely everything. Then for your part 2, you're gonna choose one of those images again, or choose another image, and you're gonna write a brief paragraph using as many words that you can in sentences to describe that object.